Thank you. Sure. Appreciate it. Pam.
All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for coming. Merry Christmas. Let's stand and pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for coming. Want to excuse Derek Moore. He is going to call in for executive session. Just want to make everyone aware of that. He is not with us today. Okay. I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It looks like we have a few signed in. Your topic, oh, okay, I understand. We will start with Mrs. Galloway.
What do you need from me? Just my name, or you need all of like?
We need your name. We need to know what time dinner is tomorrow.
My name's Michael Galloway. At the last school board meeting, where public comment was discussed, I just wanted to add my 2 cents.
Okay.
There have been several occasions where I would like to comment on items the board was discussing. However, if I'm only allowed to speak before the meeting, I then have no idea what the board discussion will be, how you're leaning, and maybe, just maybe, I might have an argument that will help you make a decision. If I'm only allowed to speak at the end of the meeting, it's too late. A decision has already been made. You allow each person who wants to speak 3 minutes. 3 minutes is 3 minutes, no matter where it is in the agenda. If you had a lot of people attending your meeting, I might see this as a problem. But on a normal meeting night, after the students leave, you usually have 3 to 5 people in attendance, and sometimes it's only 2. I come to these meetings because I care and I'm interested in supporting Middleton schools. And I feel like I have no way to make my voice heard before an item is discussed and voted on at the board meeting. I would just like to be able to comment on before you vote on something. And somebody told me I should make a telephone call. That's not why I don't come to this meeting. I come to this meeting, it's a public meeting, and I want my comments heard publicly. If I call on the phone, only one of you hears my argument. So I just think there's a better way to do this, and I think that you need to find a way that the citizens of Middleton can be heard.
Thank you. All right, let's have Mr. Reynolds.
Don Reynolds, 452 East Walcott Lake Court, Middleton. I echo the comments that were made. I was here in the meeting last month as well. And the discussion regarding public comment was a little bit concerning from the standpoint of the agenda's online and people can look and see what's going on there. I appreciate the idea that this might be a meeting held in public versus a public meeting, but I also understand that there's a lot of discussion that goes on in this community. And when those discussions are happening one-on-one through email or through phone calls, it's a lot harder to understand and suss out actual conversation and truth and priorities and opinions and suggestions versus having someone come up and stand in a public meeting and stand and voice their opinion, their thoughts, their ideas, their direction. And I would hope that the school board would be open to that kind of comment. I don't come to these meetings on a regular basis. I have in the past from time to time. I was actually at one point interviewed to be a board member after some kerfuffle that happened within the school district, you might say. And I find it's really important in the interest of transparency, that the public comment is allowed, that it's encouraged, and that it's not stifled for the sake of time and expediency, because I think that's the wrong approach to take in many of these issues. The other thing that I just want to note is I don't go online and look through all of the public meeting notice ahead of time. I come here because I feel it's a public meeting, so I can get an idea of what's happening in a quick, concise way, or I can watch it online, rather than have to sort through a bunch of paperwork that I may or may not understand. So I appreciate the dialogue and the opportunity to listen to the discussion, and hope that the board would also be interested in hearing public input and discussion as well, in a limited, rational way.
Thank you. All right. Let's move on. Does anybody have any discussion about the consent agenda? No? No questions? Do we need to talk about any of it? We're good? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Just second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Let's move on to discussion items. That is gonna be you, Mrs. Goodson.
Yes, I have for you, my apologies because I was out last month because I was sick. So this is a recap from November's meeting. This is the, our fall assessment data, results. So the first that we'll look at is K5, those results. iReady reading is one assessment that we use. I do want to give the caveat that in K3, because the state has a new assessment platform that was quite an intensive undertaking, and we wanted to be really cautious about how often we were assessing those students, that it was optional for our grades K3 teachers. So what you're seeing are complete data sets for grades 4 and 5. So the green would be on grade level, the yellow would be your tier 2, so 1 grade level below, and red is tier 3, 2 or more grade levels below. That's how iReady classifies that. And so again, this is just the beginning year data that we're seeing. This one was taken in August and September of this year. When we look at math,
I just have one question. Is it
absolutely.
possible to make that full screen, or do you have to leave those other windows up there? Just try to
you're
make.
testing my voice skills right now. No, I think it's actually coming from mine.
Well,
right
this
here.
one decides what the TV.
Where's the full screen?
Just so the audience can see it better. It's probably a little hard for a lot of people to see.
I think that's as big as
I
it
think
would
that's
go.
as big as
Might
it
be, yeah.
goes.
There you go. You can read the numbers pretty well there now. Yeah,
Except I'm,
probably a little too big there.
It's on grade level. Proficient.
Sorry to interrupt.
No,
Mary.
you're good. You are good. So that's our reading data, our math data, if we're gonna look at that. Again, kindergarten, so for math, all of K5 took that because the state doesn't have a math assessment there. So what you'll also notice is that in kindergarten, they're not two grade levels below. That's why you're seeing just green and yellow in those areas.
I guess I missed something. Did you say that this is optional for certain grades?
For the K3 reading. And the reason that it was for K3 reading is because of the state's new assessment and the intensity that it took to get that up and running
So
this
did
fall.
those
Mirror.
kids take a mirror?
They did.
Oh.
And I'll have that data here for you
Okay.
as well. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
So this is just our beginning of year data. We assess 3 times throughout the year. So actually our middle school and elementary either have or are taking the second one this month and last month, and then I'll report out to you on that in January. So this is the K3 reading indicator. So this, Cindy, is what I was talking about. The state has a new assessment platform and it's called Amira. So some changes in the assessment platform are that it is computer adaptive assessment. meaning that however the kid responds, the system in and of itself will level up or level down. And then there's also a reading fluency component to it where students read into a microphone, and the program assesses them. So that was a new
That's
feature.
statewide.
Yeah.
I
Do
have,
we have to do what the state does? Or can we do more?
It's a required state assessment.
yeah,
It's required.
yeah, that's part of the,
And so this is where our beginning measures are.
Can I do this?
Yep.
But you asked, can we do more? Yes.
Mhm.
We can do more than that, but we have to at least do this.
So that's what the state is required.
Yeah.
mhm.
And we do, when I report out, like next month, we can go through some of the different components of like the new reading program that we're doing that's giving us some really accurate skill-based data
Oh, that's
as well.
good to hear.
So I feel like we do have some really accurate data points in there. So this, the state had us take this assessment rather than in August or September. The state's window for this one, because it was new, was October. So that's the data that you're seeing. Here is the October data. We gave it a test run in September to prep for it. What I can report out is that since October, to the November assessment, when we did this, like kindergarten started at 30% and in tier 1, and it's at 59% in November.
And that assessment is every month,
It
correct?
is, yeah.
Yeah.
Like for example, first grade started at 39% in tier 1 and November's data is showing 64%.
Nice.
Second grade came in at 52% and they're showing at 56% for November. And then a little jump in third grade from 54 to 55%. So in 1 month's time, you're already seeing some of that growth. And our administrators, when they look at all of these data points, as well as with our new reading program, that 95% group, are commenting at how they are able to pinpoint the exact skill deficit and they are seeing gains already.
Nice.
So that's a positive step in the right direction.
Does that mean there would be feedback given to their particular teacher so the teacher could help them focus on their
Correct.
skill set?
Yeah.
in this?
Because this is just one assessment measure that we utilize. We also have the students who either between iReady or the Amira who didn't meet what we would call a benchmark, they get a second screening that is more intensive, that allows us to diagnose that exact skill deficit and give them the correct and accurate intervention. And that's coming through the 95% program that we adopted last spring. Yep. So for grades 6 through 8, we have iReady reading as well. So you're seeing there the starting percentages. 6th grade coming in just a little bit lower than 7th and 8th in reading. And then in math, 6th grade coming in higher than 7th and 8th grade. So I know that as far as the middle school is concerned, they have grade level PLC day meetings that they work through the data with, and also making sure that the students have the appropriate class placements and interventions as they go through. And then for grades 9 through 11, they do the ISAT interim. And so green and blue, so green is proficient, blue is exceeds, advanced, thank you. I gotta keep all these assessment platforms correct. The orange is basic and the red is below basic. So what you're seeing here is where they're coming in again at the start of the year. They will give this assessment again in February for ELA. It is higher in ELA than it is showing in math. And those were some conversations that I've had with Mr. Hollinger and his team and that he's had with his teachers as well. And you'll see some policy being brought forward to help motivate students to do their best. If you were to ask me my opinion, I think our students know more than what is represented right here in this data. I believe that more than 10% of our ninth graders are proficient in math. So it just gets a little trickier the older they get to let them know that these assessments matter, and it's how we make data-informed decisions. So are there questions that I can answer about that?
Too bad you can't tie it to their grade. They'd probably take it more seriously.
the same.
They do go from an age at the elementary level where they want to grow and I'll say please, and then it gets to a point where, you know, there's gotta be an incentive. They have to see the value in it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think that's what you saw with the previous approach as far as the ISAT is concerned. It was from the state mandated graduation requirement. And so students knew that if they did not if they didn't pass, they weren't going to be able to graduate, and they could bank it starting in 9th grade. If they passed it in 9th grade, they didn't have to take it ever again.
Makes sense.
You know, and they, when they moved to this different platform and this different arrangement, it's taken a lot of that motivation out because there is nothing from the state that's tied to it. And again, Mrs. Goodson alluded to this, but some of the policy we'll talk about later in the meeting is directed at this problem specifically.
Perfect.
Yeah. And so when working with administrators, because the question always is, so what now, right? You get this data in the fall, and then how are you acting on it so that we don't we expect differences in the spring, right?
Mm-hmm.
So in working with our administrators, they have all reviewed the data with their staff. And I can give like specific examples of the elementary. They utilize this data to drive their small groups. And so when those students who did not meet benchmark get that diagnostic assessment, they will have a small group that's focusing now on like skill 3.1 or skill 3.2 or 3.3. And that relates to a very specific ELA skill for those students. So they're able to quickly identify. And then as the board has asked, in the appendices, I've given you the school level breakdowns for the data. And that's all I've got for that one, if there are no questions.
Any questions?
That was November's
Yep.
data. that we were supposed to do. in
October.
Yeah, it was October. We would have
This
presented in
is what I
November.
was
Right.
supposed to present last
Yes.
month, had I.
Okay, that's what I thought.
So we'd be moving, if there's no other questions, we'd be moving into this month's, the scheduled, which is the PSAT. So
Okay, anybody have questions?
No, thank you.
You had to finish off your question?
It's gonna come later.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, you
Next
ready to
up,
move on?
yep. Okay, so the PSAT, our sophomores take the PSAT, and in Middleton, this year we had all sophomores take that assessment. And they are assessed both in math and reading. So what you'll see here on this first page is the,
do you mind shrinking it just a little so we can see the,
this,
yeah, that works.
the top number up here is our district number of how many students met both benchmarks for both math and reading, and that's 30%. The state's sitting at 37%, and if you were to look at US and global testers, they're at 38%. Given that we assess all of our students and as the state covers the cost of that, some schools or some states, it's really only the students elect to take it. So that's a difference that you'll notice. So given the fact that this is all of our students taking it, and it's this close to the state and to the national average, I feel like it sits pretty well.
Is this something that they can elect to take again?
Mm-hmm.
But it would be at their cost.
At
Yeah,
their cost.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a sophomore and the PSAT teacher is the worst teacher ever and the homework can be finished sometime next week. So that's kind of where we were at with the results after he saw them. And so I think he would even enjoy the opportunity to retake it.
So if we break that down in the reading and writing portion, the district's sitting at 65% meeting that benchmark. The state's at 70, and US and global is sitting between 65 and 67%. So we're right there.
Did you say that all sophomores in the state of Idaho have to take it now? Or
No,
just
in
all?
Middleton, all sophomores take
Okay.
it. The state covers the cost for all sophomores.
Okay.
So it's at no cost to the district.
A lot of schools give them, even here in the Treasure Valley, a lot of schools give the students the choice of taking that. And if they don't take it, in some schools, they don't come to school that day. In other schools, they would go through their normal day. So, in the schools where they don't have to even come if they don't take the test, there's an incentive against coming and taking the test. I can take a test or I can stay home. And so that's some of what you see as well.
Well, that really skews the statistics, because otherwise it would be like college-bound students that know.
Right.
Correct.
And that would be what we would expect if we made it
That's a lot.
a
Yeah.
choice.
So maybe what, like 50% or so of the students would.
Well, and I
take
would think,
it.
I think even sometimes, because both of mine took it again and paid to take it again for scholarship reasons, so yeah, I think,
For a lot of these students, it's the
Good
first time they've
practice.
taken an assessment like this.
mm-hmm,
That is quite a lengthy assessment,
mm-hmm,
and all in one day.
And to Ms. Clark's point, it's really designed for those college-bound students. So a student who's not college-bound and already knows that they're heading into a different field that wouldn't require that college pathway, they might be going through a CTE pathway or something like that. That's not they're not as motivated as the college-bound student to do well on that.
Exactly, yeah, sure.
And then for math, 31% as a district, 39% at the state. And then the reason there's two states is because these are the public schools. And then this would be all schools, so that all schools would include your private schools. And then 40% between the US and the global testers. So just a little bit lower than in our ELA, but it is nice from my perspective to know how we are stacking up against, we're just in a global market, period.
mm-hmm.
So it's not just, when these kids go out into the job market, they're not just competing against, their neighbor sitting in class or someone else, So it's nice to know how we stack up.
Do you feel like if there's some sort of introduction or better lead into, not like a pre-test to it, but like just like an understanding of how to take that test more effectively, that would impact it? And if that's the case, is it possible to
Yeah.
do some of that
I
training?
think any PSAT, SAT preparation helps. One, to know the different the questioning types, the format of the test, so to help a student navigate that. So any unknowns that we have control over that we can make knowns to the students, I could only see as being advantageous.
Is that something we can look to do in the future, just to kind of gear up maybe a couple weeks ahead of time, just a little bit of practice sheets or something, just in a random period?
Yeah.
Because
It would just be like putting you, like if you had no preparation and we just put you in front of a computer and told, navigate the
Take
platform
the test.
and take the test, there's some acclimation that has to go on there.
if we could look at some sort of ability to gear up to that point. I want an honest assessment, and so I don't want to heavily load it with, pre-tests with answers, but I also, let's make sure that we've got a level playing field here.
Are there any questions on the PSAT data?
So there's nothing like the ISAT, iReady practice tests.
Not for the SAT.
Not
Well,
for
the
the
PSAT,
SAT.
you could look at the PSAT as a practice test for the SAT.
Mm-hmm,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
That's really how
that's really
it,
what it is.
how it
I mean,
flows
to
in.
understand how the test is going to be delivered to you on a computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
But also the PSAT is a precursor for a lot of national scholarships. National merit scholars are actually selected via, that's kind of an entry point for that,
Yeah.
to be able to be selected. So students who have a high enough score qualify to apply for the National Merit Scholar Program.
Okay.
So that's another thing that I think we would include as we're talking about preparation, is clearly identifying for those students what those benefits could be if they
Yeah.
got a high enough score.
And then as far as the retaking of that, is that something, even though it needs to be paid for the second time around by the families, is that something that the school still facilitates, or
I
is
would
that?
need to look at the state schedule and the SAT schedule.
I
'Cause
kind of feel like they do.
tried it.
Okay.
I was gonna say, mine have both done that, and I would also say, I feel like both of mine, actually all 5 of them, probably have been prepared and were ready to take a PSAT. Just they knew what it was, they knew what the consequences were and that they wanted to do well on it. So there is some preparation going on. I just want to speak to that.
Yes.
But they had to find it probably online
No,
themselves.
no, they came from school and said, this is coming, I gotta do good and da-da-da-da-da. So I feel like there's some communication going on there. All right, anything else, anybody?
No.
All right, let's talk about a new
In
course.
case you got it. Yes. So the state has provided opportunity, for, oh boy, give me 1 second. For CTE pathways to fulfill core graduation requirements. And so this guidance came down, I think last legislative session. So what we have done is we have two pathways in the medical professions, the medical assisting and the rehabilitation services. And we worked with those teachers in those pathways, and each pathway has 3 levels to it. To crosswalk the health credit standards. So health is a required credit to graduate in the state of Idaho. And so we looked at our CTE pathway courses and the required health standards, and we said, okay, where do we meet these, or where do we need to enhance them in order to meet the criteria? So we have crosswalked those. So what we are asking, and to a point where we feel really comfortable that they would be receiving the same amount of information, same standards as if they took the regular health course. It's just allowing those students to capitalize on the course they're already taking, so it's kind of like a twofer. So upon successful completion of that CTE pathway, then students will have fulfilled the state's health requirement. So
But-
that's what we're looking at.
But if I can clarify,
Yeah.
that doesn't mean that they get, 4 credits for taking 3 classes. They take the 3 classes in the medical, health professions pathway, and it satisfies that health requirement. So they don't have to do,
Take it
to
separate.
take that
Yeah.
separate class. It doesn't give them a credit for health. It satisfies the requirement of health. Does that make,
So they still have to take health.
they don't.
They do it.
No, it satisfies the requirement. It just doesn't give them a credit. There will not be a credit on their transcript that says health.
Oh,
What
okay.
we do, Cindy, is on the back end with our uploads to the state, we code one of those sections of the level 3 pathway as the health credit. So we use a code for the state so that it reads that fulfills that requirement.
Okay. And then it's actually, it says level 1, 2, and 3. That's 3 different classes?
Yep. So those standards we have folded into level 1, level 2, and level 3, the health credit standards.
Okay,
So if you take
And there's a
all 3,
lot of,
people
there's a
get
lot of
one.
crossover.
okay. Thank you.
I like that. Probably hooks in more a little bit, right?
It frees up, when we're looking at apprenticeships and things like that, it frees up the student schedules. Like it's one less requirement, so it builds them in more flexibility,
Yes.
to be able, if they need that apprenticeship, then they don't have to be stuck with the health credit that they have to take.
Now you tell me.
But yes, now, not retroactive.
Now that I have a
unfortunately.
baby a senior, no, it's
Yeah.
okay, it's all good. Any other questions, anybody? All right, let's go to our open enrollment report.
So if you'd like me to walk through that.
Yes, please.
This is, we're required to report annually to the board the number of students that are coming from outside of our school district and taking spaces within the school. What you see here is just a breakdown of those students as of November of 2025. You see the original school district, meaning the district that they live in, and the grade levels that they're in, and we're at 284 total students. Currently, we are, I'll just bring this, I'll tell you where we're at as far as grade levels that are open to new open enrollments. Just get there really quick. Right now, Mill Creek and Heights remain closed at all grade levels. Purple Sage is closed at I'll tell you here 1 second, it's coming. It's thinking.
Here it is.
Purple Sage is closed in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade. The only openings for elementary age students in our district are in kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade at Purple Sage.
There's probably like handful.
Well, I mean, you can see, I guess it doesn't break it down by school here, but meaning a handful left.
Yeah,
Yes, there's not a
That's kinda
lot of
what I'm
space
thinking,
because
like-
we dropped just 1 or 2 below that level in 2nd grade. 2nd grade, if there's 2 more students added, we would be
that's kind of what I was
closed at
thinking.
that point. We're very close. The capacity of Purple Sage is 594. Our current enrollment is 578. The middle school, we are closed in the 7th and 8th grade. There's only a little bit of room in the 6th grade, and we're 1 student away from being closed for the whole school because we have a capacity of 1,050 at the middle school, and we are currently at 1,049. So.
Bless all of you.
The high school, we are closed in the 9th, 10th, and 11th grade, with opening only in the 12th grade. That capacity is 1,550, and our enrollment is 1,535 at the high school. There was a question earlier about how many of because we do allow, regardless of where they're at, children of employees to attend our schools, and we currently have 56. Of that 284, 56 of them are children of district employees.
Perfect.
Any questions on the
Well, I was
open
just
enrollment?
curious, you had the different charters listed on here.
Simply because that's where they came from. That was,
Okay.
yeah,
They don't have their own
they don't-
boundaries.
they have a boundary, most of them
Oh.
have but what we had on there was if they transferred from that school, we placed it here just so that it was
Okay.
clear.
That makes sense.
Either way, they're out of our district.
Thank
So
you.
they don't live in our
They,
district.
like, let's say it's a Vision Charter. There are students that live in Middleton that attend Vision Charter. If they went to Vision Charter and then came back, we wouldn't be listing them as an
Okay.
open enrollment.
Just to be clear then, are we still going to be open to staff that has children, or when the schools are full, that we won't even?
No, we would still let the staff.
Children,
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
or children, staff.
That would just be
Yeah.
as far as, we would lose
Yeah.
staff members if we weren't able to
Right.
educate their kids here, just 'cause it makes it more convenient for them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Kind of a benefit of being a staff member. so.
Sure, you bet.
Any other questions on open enrollment? So we'll keep you appraised of that, and again, there's not a lot of places they can move in.
Yeah,
So,
but just to clarify, if people move here, they're coming to our school, whether,
yes,
Yeah,
if they
then we're
move
not.
into our district, we take them regardless. Okay,
so we can't just say it's closed.
nope, not yet. We're close. We're close to saying we're close.
All right, let's move on to the middle school's request to change to semester schedule. Mr. Hinkson, are you gonna lead that?
I am.
All right.
She got the sit. Can I just sit?
You cannot.
Don't we want you at the podium?
If you're gonna run all the slides for the rest of the evening, you can sit.
Not right after this, after I present, I am gonna run because my son's getting an award.
Oh, well then, talk
Oh, yeah.
fast. And congratulations too, by the way.
Thank you, you worked really hard. So we're at 1049, my numbers are a little off, but as you can see, our seventh grade is our largest class at 364, that's huge.
That is huge.
That is huge. And I'd like to point out that the sixth grade last year at this time was 280, and now they're at 329. So
Wow.
that's some growth, just for your knowledge. Moving on. All right, so we're looking at going to a 7-period day. Right now, we technically have 7 periods, but the first one's an advisory called bikes. We'd like to move to a 7-period day because it allows more flexibility in the schedule. It allows us more, it gives us more FTE without requesting more FTE because we're gaining 3 more sections just in 6th grade math. So it makes for a lot more movement. We'll still, go on to the next one, we'll still go support those kids that need bikes through other classes that we'll create. But we have the FTE. We will not request any. This is our proposed schedule. I messed up and had the bikes in there. That's still just first period. So our classes change by 5 minutes. We don't lose a lot of time and our lunches stay pretty close. Right now, our 6th graders eat lunch at 10:50, so really they eat brunch.
Mhm.
And our 8th graders eat in the hall all day long, so one thing doesn't matter.
That's culture.
It is. Right now, we're on 3 trimesters, 12 weeks long. First trimester ended November 2nd, the next one ends February 26th, and the third one ends May 28th. That second trimester is really hard because it seems so long because there's Thanksgiving, there's
Big
Christmas.
breaks.
Yeah.
Hard to retain,
Like it's just so choppy.
hard to retain information, yeah.
All right. So we'd like to go to, and I learned this today, I was informed, it's not quarters, it's terms. So we would go to basically 4 terms. So each term would be a grading period, just like each trimester is a grading period. So we would run, our 6th grade would actually, in their exploratory classes, they would have 4 terms. Each one would be a separate class. But then we'd also run semester classes. Our SCS may have too much content to run in a quarter. I know it does. So it'd be a semester, but then we'd still have your own classes. So that just kind of breaks it down. We'd have 2 core terms, sorry, Angie. 2
Really
terms.
quick, you said FCS, just so everybody knows.
Yeah, FCS, is our food and community science.
Family consumer.
Family consumer science.
And it's a great class, and Ms. Kinley fills it up. And we need more sections of it, but it's a very large class, and she does a lot, and we don't want to restrict her time. So we make that one a semester class.
Okay.
Pros and cons. Basically, you read through the pros, it's great. The cons we've already solved. So anything, we kind of ask the faculty to give us some pros and cons. We've already solved all the cons. The biggest thing is we really want to align with the high school. We really want to align with the academy. They're the 2 schools that we work with the most. We're starting our advanced courses. We have a student that's taking 11th grade math right now, and she takes it in the hall doing ILA. And it'd be great if we could work with the high school and have maybe a first period where they offer that class and we can bus her to the high school. She's also reading at an extremely high level, so we don't want to punish those kids. But this will allow us to be able to move back and forth and allow us to use the CTE building and allow us to use our alternative school and have our kids go back and forth a little smoother because they're on quarters and we're on trimesters. So when a kid moves over, it's kind of choppy for them. That's what I have.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So this is something that would require we're proposing this for the fall of 26.
Yes.
This would require a board action to approve. The sooner the board makes a decision, the better for the middle schools because they're already trying to plan for that fall of 2026.
And then we've spoken with the teachers and their.
We spoke, I started with the department chairs and everybody was on board. The only question anybody had was length of grading period. Because if they had to grade for a whole semester, that's a long time. But once we told them it would be terms, we didn't hear anybody say anything negative about it.
Okay.
Was there any reason why the middle school was different than the high school? It seems like it should have always been the same.
It was, it was
Thank you,
about
I think that as a
in the
parent.
early 2010s
Yeah.
that I believe, I can't speak to why. But does
I
make
don't know if
sense
any of
to,
us fit on the
it
board.
does make sense to have them align at our secondary level.
Yes,
Absolutely.
and it's better scheduling, right?
Yeah.
It helps improve the ability to,
It helps us have more offerings. That, with the
I
7th
appreciate
grade
that.
data, allows a lot more flexibility for us.
Didn't the advisory concept start all that? Having an advisory class?
Start the trimester.
No.
The Vikes, it did, and Vikes is super important for some kids, they need that, but we can build a class in that targets those kids, because we have some kids that are coming to a first period spending 40 minutes, they've already done all their work. They have hundreds in their classes, they don't.
or they're doing their
But I
last
mean-
minute homework like my children used to.
I just remember that when I was teaching in the
they're
Meridian
mandatory.
School District, that this big new idea was to have advisory classes.
Yeah,
So I didn't realize Middleton had done that too. Okay.
Kick him out of here. So
Yes, I appreciate all you've done. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Kingston.
best of luck.
Don't be a dad. Best thing to be.
Congratulations.
All right. Let's move on. How did this get so many pages?
I know, right?
I just need to say something about that. In his letter that he was writing to the board members, there seemed to be a mindset that they were feeling like they weren't being seen or being, the way he wrote it was that it was they were becoming stagnant and not really doing what they were supposed to be doing with kids.
Well, I
Do
think
you,
if I can speak to that a little bit in
Okay.
conversations that I've had with Mr. Hinkson, what he's looking at there is because it was different than the other secondary schools, the other secondary schools were able to continue to collaborate more easily than they were able to collaborate with the middle school because their schedules were the same. Like it's the fact that the academy and the high school were both on a form of quarters is what allowed us to create that construction program that was able to get them to come down for half a day. And when they were on trimesters, you wouldn't be able to create that. And so there was just that feeling that, well, we can't join into some of these things because we're stuck on this trimester schedule.
Because it's not a nice, smooth.
And I think
understand
that,
but
my
I just-
feeling is that that was what he was alluding to in that letter.
Okay,
That's what I got out of it. It was just like
cause it
they,
just seemed
I
that
thought it
there
was
was
really
a-
real well
they
written.
were
Oh,
missing,
yeah,
they were missing opportunities because the staggered schedule
kids
wouldn't
were
allow,
missing
yeah, kids
opportunities, to go
to
up or
finish things and
anything.
have a
And to get
complete-
credit when they can get credit, they
Yeah.
couldn't get credit and be that much more ahead when they get to the high school.
Right. Okay, I got
Yep.
a kind of a
Fantastic.
negative feel that
Oh, no,
that they felt like they weren't, which I never ever thought of that, of the middle school. But also, do they want to be considered a secondary school,
well, whether they want to be considered or not, they are one.
even
Mhm.
at sixth grade?
From
Yeah.
sixth grade up.
That's what I thought,
Yeah.
okay.
So they just feel like having it all the same makes it
It
that
works.
much easier to collaborate.
Yep, it works for. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, we good? Let's move on to E. Mrs. Krantz.
Good evening. So tonight I'm here just to present to our board a request to add an additional fund within the state treasury's pool. It's called the Local Governmental Investment Pool, or LGIP. Currently, the district has 3 other funds. This LGIP is a voluntary investment pool, typically only for public agencies. And their primary purpose is to provide a safe and a liquid vehicle for us to invest our idle funds and to obtain the best interest rates available at the time of investment. So these allowable agencies, we can request to add an additional fund since we already have active funds within the treasurer's office. The application must be approved tonight by the agencies, by board of trustees, and be executed with at least one signature from our chairman of the board before we can submit it to the state.
So local, again,
Yeah,
say that
local
again,
government
government.
investment pool.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I would respectfully request that you consider allowing us to add another fund to help us with the tennis dome donations.
And one of the reasons we suggested doing this is so that it could be very transparent that
Yes.
that this is being constructed from donations, and we could keep that as a separate account.
It
But there's
doesn't get
never a
lost
chance
in-
that
yes.
those funds get placed, a donation, gets placed somewhere else, or district funds get placed. All of that, when it's in an account like this, is tracked and audited, and it just keeps us above board on all of that. So, and then because we expect these donations to continue to come in, but you can't really move on it until then, it allows us safe and it's a place where it can generate interest at a higher rate than most savings
Yes,
accounts
I
that you
think
can
it's
put them in at a normal bank.
See
So,
any reason not to take money that has been donated and put it in an account where it makes more money.
yeah.
So
And people can see that.
don't see too many downsides to that.
Any
No,
other questions?
thank you.
Thank you.
All right, here we go. It's all you.
Okay, new elementary school discussions we've got in the packet, and we sent it to you a little bit early just so because there was a lot there. We don't necessarily need to bring it up because we won't go through all 87 pages of the thing. But this is the pre-construction contract with LKV, our architects. Typically what you'll do, the architect is involved heavily in the pre-construction portion of building an elementary school, any school. And so they put together a basic set of contracts and expectations that they will carry out and we will carry out. What's listed within that contract is all of the, it's all the legalese that has to go in. The process we use is LKV presented a contract to us as a district. I shared that contract directly with our attorney. Our attorney went through all the pieces of that contract. There's a lot of amounts that aren't in there yet because a lot of the cost of the pre-construction will depend on the estimated cost of the building. So it'll be a percentage of that. And that doesn't happen until ESI does its part. So a pre-construction contract has the rates in there that will be charged from the architect and its services. It also lists out the different engineers and land groups that they'd be working with. And our attorney has looked at this contract, and these are kind of boilerplate. Most of these contracts are very similar from one project to another because the expectations are the same when it's a public business or a public project. And our attorney feels confident that this contract doesn't have any red flags, feels that it's an appropriate plan for that.
Okay.
As you reviewed the contract, were there any questions that you had?
Well, on the supplemental services, what does NP mean? Not something?
Let me get there. What page are you on?
Page 13.
Okay.
It's just listing out all the different things and who as far not provided, that was what it is.
Okay, then, yeah, I'm guessing it's not provided, but let me get there just to make sure we're.
Okay. Yeah, it says that I didn't.
Yes, yep, that is not provided.
Okay.
You probably told us before, but what attorney is it that reviews?
Brett Walther is the attorney with Anderson, Julian and Hull.
Okay, yeah.
We work with Anderson, Julian Hull with different attorneys depending on the topic. Most of our contracts and building projects, we work the legal documents with him. Any other questions or concerns with moving forward with a pre-construction contract for the?
That's great.
Okay. The next item for the new elementary school is the naming of the new elementary school. And I would like to propose to the board that we go through a process where we involve the community in that naming process. The way I've seen it done in other districts is you provide an opportunity, a window of time where any suggestions are welcome. And it can be from students, parents, patrons, all of those can come in. And then we would put a small committee together to sort through the names that have been provided. That committee would narrow it to 3 to 5 suggested names. We may want to look at doing names and mascots at the same time. The pattern that has been in Middleton has been that each of those elementary schools has its own mascot, even though as a district, we're the Vikings, each elementary has a different mascot. So we could be, I would suggest that be a part of it, a name with a mascot that would be associated. And then allow that, once we've narrowed that to 3 to 5, allow that to be voted on by our public to name that school.
Sounds great.
I think it's a great way to be able to bring people in. It shows there's a lot of creativity that can go into that. Once we have the mascot name, we can actually go through a mascot design, similar to what we did with the high school when we had to redo the Viking design. Anyway, if you as a board feel comfortable with moving forward with that, that's the process I'll start putting in place. Because we do, knowing that we're going to be receiving the funds one way or another, whether it's going to be from the rerun bond or from the state.
Oh, yeah, rerun bonds.
Or from the state's cooperative fund. We feel like it'd be important to get those kind of things going, just so that there is once we have a name, we have it. That's how it's referred to.
Yes.
We've been working through the permitting process and feel like we're in a good place to be able to start. It'll take several months to work through that process, but if you're comfortable with that process, we'll go forward.
I think that's great.
Okay. We move on to the appraisal.
Yes, please.
Okay. We bring up that map that comes with that one. As a part of, the results of our levy election, and as a part of our continual process of looking for options regarding the locations of buildings, property that the district owns. One of the things that comes up frequently is this property right here where we are sitting, the district office, maintenance, recreation facility, the old Red Brick building, all of this area that is, there's a lot of different ways that the district could go about utilizing the property. It's also very, prime property as far as being right on the main street. And so what I am proposing to the board is that we go through an appraisal process for this property. The property is 4 different parcels. If I can go up to the screen just to make it clear here. This property right here is where the district office is. It's actually, these two together are the same parcel. So these two are the same parcel, these two are the same parcel, another parcel, and then another parcel. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4.
So the Second Avenue West is an easement.
It is, correct. And the same with this little piece here is an easement. It's an alleyway that was originally planned there. But all of these things, these are not the spaces that we have to appraise the property in, but it is what is currently listed with the county. So any questions while I'm up here?
Well, it's weird that the old elementary school got built on 2 separate parcels.
Correct. I've asked a little bit about that. If we were ever to do something that separated pieces and sold one part and not the other, we would have to do a realignment, a remeasuring, and go through that process to make sure that we don't lose part of the building when we do that.
I see.
Any other questions while I'm up here? Okay. So what we're looking at, the appraisal process does have a cost that comes with it. I reached out to a number of appraisal, I reached out to 5 different appraisal companies, only heard back from 1 that was willing to work with us. It's a unique property because there aren't really comps.
Yeah.
So there's gonna be a lot of work that goes into it. The cost, depending on how we break that up, could be anywhere from $6,500 to $9,000. To go through the appraisal. The appraisal takes about 60 days, once we give them the go-ahead to move forward. My recommendation would be to break it up and do an evaluation of each parcel, the value of each parcel, rather than as one large parcel. The one large parcel would be cheaper, but it wouldn't give you the options to look at what would happen if you just took, this section or this section, and having it separated into different parcels would allow for that.
If we were to do that, because the sum total of the property would be differently valued than each individual parcel even added up.
Correct.
So is that an option to say?
That would be an option as well. That's not been something that the appraiser we've been working with has outlined.
Okay.
And in terms of what the extra cost might be.
And I guess I'd be more interested in just getting that feedback from the appraiser as to which would be more valuable, because.
And I had that conversation, and the conversation, his feeling was that breaking it up into the pieces gives you the majority of the information that you would need to make those kind of assessments, strategic planning. He didn't feel like, because, and this was not him trying to pad his costs, because he was actually recommending, because if we did it that way, you do 4 appraisals and then you do a 5th appraisal of the whole property, which would actually, cost more, put more money in his pocket. His recommendation was to do the 4 and not do the full, in terms of getting the most useful information.
I'm just like, if we're gonna, the idea here is just to understand this asset that we have, to see where we can best manage our assets and figure out what we may or may not be able to do with it.
Right.
So I guess we'll just kind of see what comes out of it.
And then you could, if you needed additional information, you could still have an additional appraisal done. At that point, they could utilize the information that they'd already gathered.
I think just the simple question of, we've got these individual parcels, would it be more as one piece? That's something that if we just.
If
say
he
yes
can
or
at
no,
least just give a yes or no.
that's good.
We can
enough,
ask that in
because that would help us make a decision if we were to move forward with something.
we can ask them to address that in the report.
Okay, that'd be great.
So if you look at the action item that's associated with this proposal, it does have a not to exceed, simply because we wouldn't want to, there's a chance it could be less. The way that he had outlined it gave us 4 parcels up to $9,000. It could be less if we if we're able to adjust things there. So I'm happy to answer any other questions that you have. I do want to let you know, I did let the rec center know, just so that they're aware that we're appraising, that there's not been any decisions being made.
Thank you very
Or
much.
just so that, because they will have to come and do some site walks. We don't want them feeling like we've already made some decision and are, we're just gathering the information.
So in our contract with them, it's 90 days if we were to make it, right? Can you
Oh, it's
remember?
actually, it's 6, I think it's more than that, 6
Yeah.
months.
6
We
months.
gave them
Okay, no,
quite a
which
bit
is-
of lead time.
Okay, thank you.
But
Just to
there-
put that on the record, that,
Yeah.
There's nothing planned right now.
No,
We're
no.
literally just trying to figure out what these assets are worth, in the off chance that we need to utilize that
yes,
space.
And I addressed that with the rec center.
Thank you.
folks. So,
that's perfect, thank you. Anything else? Anybody questions? All right. Let's talk about ISBA conference. 3 of us had the opportunity to head up to Coeur d'Alene, and actually we were joined by the superintendent and Mrs. Corrigan came and Lisa, and I just wanted to allow board members a chance to just share maybe what they learned really quickly. Cindy?
I learned a lot, but I think one of the most important things that basically I learned was that the legislature does a lot without asking school districts. And it was interesting, one of the ISBA individuals who does do her due diligence at the Capitol when it does start up the session was just very, I don't want to say emotional, but she was very intent on saying that school districts need to come and make their voice heard. So I asked her about, is it just board members? And she said, no, the community. So I'm just kind of putting that out there. So if you have spare time, which, a lot of us do not, but to even just call the legislators that we have up there doing work for us, sharing your thoughts and where you think things should happen and what should and shouldn't be going on, which is hard to do. But I plan to go up a little bit more than I have in the past. So that was one real kind of eye-opening thing for me in terms of what we learned there, along with the other
Very good.
sessions that we went to.
Yeah, I think it's always valuable. Every time we go, we learn a little bit more. I think that one of the things I would propose for us, not necessarily as a motion, but would be after preparing for this next year, is to sit down and just maybe come up as a group with some, 2 or 3 of our top takeaways, and then once we get those in the group, just kind of pick a couple that we really want to focus on for the next year, to elevate what we've got going on.
And maybe even write a resolution.
And that would be, I would think that's a good thing. I think there's a lot of things when it comes to making sure that the community understands what we're doing here, that they understand the decisions we're making and why, the transparency that we're here for anyways. I've had a lot of conversations just in passing, and the amount of information that people, questions they have about stuff that's just misinformation is astounding. And I feel like some of it is intentional, and then some of it I feel like is on my shoulders, and it's just one of those things that we can always improve as a board, so.
Very
stuff.
good. And they also talked about having a board member be a ledge rep or legislative rep.
Yeah.
They're calling it ledge rep, the ledge rep program. So, and that's something we can address in January, and I'd love for it to be one of you guys.
I think it'd be kind of like,
I'll be going there anyway. 'cause
in the
I'm
process
on
of,
the executive board.
it would be, it might be kind of cool to, get some of our government students involved in.
Oh,
that as
absolutely.
well, If that's something they're interested in.
Absolutely,
and
maybe.
Having them appear on the hill with us.
Ooh, that's capital. That's your ideas. Okay.
Anyway,
No, it was great. Always good,
what a great segue.
except for we missed our connecting flight and sat in the airport for a long time. I'm not bitter at all.
Long day.
All right, let's move on to, we're gonna get some ROTC. Mr. Hollinger.
We have been exploring the possibility of getting a junior ROTC program in Middleton High School. And it's been promising. We've had really good conversations with them. We filled out an application for the Army one. That's who's been most helpful for us. So that's probably where we'll try to go. And so filled out the application, and now they've reached back out and just said, when would your school board, what years would your school board prefer to start this? And so my request is that we determine when that would be, if it's for this upcoming school year or the year after. It's not guaranteed we would get it for this upcoming school year. That would be my recommendation if we could try, but most likely the year after. But there is a chance we could get it this year too.
Can you speak to what the Army would bring to the table and what the district would?
So, I'm gonna read off a little bit here, but, the Army would help find the instructor for it. They provide all the curriculum, all those sorts of things. The district would provide half the salary of the instructor, so the Army pays for half, and half in the benefits. So, it's a pretty good deal for us. We get a teacher at a discounted rate because they pay for private, and it's also, I think, a much needed program. And then they provide equipment, uniforms, things like that. We just need to make sure that we have space for them to have a classroom, storage. They talk about having telecommunications lines, basic things that all teachers have, right?
Mhm.
And then a drill area where they can do their drills and things like that, which we have plenty of space for that.
Just built a CT building, they can drill all day in there.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, we have indoor space for, but obviously our athletic fields and things can be used for the ROTC as well.
So this is a curriculum, this is a class, not just like an after-school club, this is.
Correct, yes, they would be enrolled in the classes
Love it.
as well. It's like a
What,
3-year program.
And they would be members of the junior ROTC.
It sounds really similar to the college level ROTC. Is there really any differences between?
I'm not super familiar with the college level ones. I would imagine it's pretty similar.
It's only what they can do with enlisted versus non-enlisted and the age appropriateness of some of the materials. So they've created the curriculum so that it's age appropriate for our high school students and as a preparatory for entering into a college level
Oh.
ROTC or to enlist in.
So they'll be, part of it is like, we provide transportation to go to like, rifle shooting ranges and things like that for them, so they do, and then obviously drill, all sorts of, military-ness.
But there's a discipline that comes with being a part of that kind of program that for a lot of our students, they're looking for it. Their families are looking for it. I think it provides an understanding of the place that the armed forces play in our communities that I don't think it's always readily apparent to our youth, that when not just those that are involved in ROTC, but the ones that are friends with and see them, when they're dressed in their uniforms for the different ceremonies that they might go through, the drills they might do. I think all of that plays to that, the understanding and discipline that comes along with. I think there's a lot of benefits that come from having an ROTC program. What are some of the other schools in the area that have an ROTC?
There's not very many. So in Idaho, there's only 2 Army JROTC programs. One is Sandpoint, and then the other one, I'm sure it might be Capitol High School. CUNA has one, I think they're the Air Force, but there's really not very many even in the Valley. So, and that's one of the things that they mentioned. And we actually move up higher on their priority list because there are so few in Idaho.
So it seems like it'd be a wonderful benefit to our high school to have
Just another opportunity.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I think, a gap that we have there.
What, as you pulled students or started to chase after some of this stuff, what, like, do we have a number of kids that had popped up that we know that?
Yeah, we have, I should have looked at our ASVAB number. We had we had over 100 students took the ASVAB, which is that
Yeah.
services vocational.
Assessment battery.
Yes, assessment battery, thank you. So we know that there's interest there. If you went to our Viking Connections night, the most popular table that had a line constantly were the Armed Forces tables. And then just anecdotally, I have students ask me all the time about it. In fact, I have one in particular, his name is Wyatt. He bothers me every day about this. And actually, he inspired me.
Wyatt should be here.
Wyatt's a freshman. He's like, I need it in the next couple of years, Mr. Hollinger. So this is.
That's
It's for
awesome.
everybody, but Wyatt really.
Tell Wyatt, thank you for being a squeaky wheel.
He was, yeah, he talked to me about it today, so.
That's awesome.
What I didn't know until my son got in the military is it's actually very competitive even for enlisted. And so I imagine this would give you a huge leg up by
Absolutely.
being in the program to be able to be in the military.
Absolutely.
That's very cool.
Yeah, we want to give our students every advantage they can. And I think this is a really good job.
For sure.
Any other questions? Thank you for everything you do for the students. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's see, how much policy do we have?
We have a policy discussion and then 2 new policies for a first reading.
All right, let's do the policy discussion.
Okay, what we've got with policy discussion, and I note that this is a discussion because this is a policy we adopted, I want to say 2 or 3 years ago. But it has not been something that we've had to utilize. It's commonly referred to as a RIF, which stands for reduction in force. And what that is a policy decision that the district would take, or process that the district would follow if funding were to drop significantly enough that we could not pay for the number of certified positions that we currently have. So what that means, there's 2 different factors here that are calling me, suggesting that we review this as a board, just so that you're aware of what this is. We're also having these same conversations with the NEA. We plan to take a few different scenarios and walk through these processes, just, hypothetical scenarios, just so that we all understand what it means. I don't know if Middleton's done a RIF since maybe 2008, 9. I don't know that they did one then.
I don't know that we ripped.
That was the last time that a lot of districts went through a RIF. A few districts did a RIF during COVID. But it's essentially a legal way for us to drop the number of people that to drop people who are possibly contracted teachers with us, because we just don't have the money to pay for it. And it sets out the process. So if we could, Paige, do you mind bringing up the second one? Yeah, that one. Okay, so if you look, and let's focus in on number 1 with the A, B, C, D there. The first step that we would take, actually, let me get back. The 2 scenarios we might run into is, 1, if we don't approve, we'll run a levy, I would assume we'll run a levy again in May. If that doesn't get passed, then we have to cut 7 certified positions. But in addition, the state has been giving different lead up saying, you better start thinking about possible cuts. education was held harmless in the fall cuts that were made at the state level, but there's no guarantee that will be held harmless. And if we receive those cuts from the state, we'll have to reduce the number of staff members that we have to go through our processes. So with those in mind, the first thing we would look for to fill or to take care of those gaps is those that are retiring, resigning, transferring, they're going on leave of absence. We would be looking at those first. So by attrition, those people would leave and we just would not hire. And we would reassign people within the district to fill in the spaces. That would be the first step, before we ever took any steps regarding a RIF. So the next step, though, is if, let's say that we have a cut between our levy not passing and cuts from the state. Let's say that we had to go down 15 positions, but we only had 10 people that were actually leaving the district. That would mean we'd have to find 5, and this is the process that we would have to go through to do that. Let's go ahead and scroll up. Number 3 there says, in the board's determination as to the individuals to be released pursuant to the reduction in force, consideration will be given to the criteria set out below. Each criterion shall be considered in terms of the total context when selecting those employees who are to be considered for release pursuant to the provisions of these procedures. So these are the criteria that we would be putting together, and we actually have the other policy that's in your packet is the rubric that puts these criteria into a form that we can utilize. So areas of certification for which the teacher is highly qualified, which are classified by the district as hard to fill positions. So that would, essentially you're looking at what are our highest priorities to keep so that we're not cutting somebody who actually fills a lot of the needs within the district. Number of areas of certification for which the teacher is highly qualified, educational degree status, national certifications held, positions as a lead or master teacher within the district, whether or not the teacher is highly qualified in a course of necessary for high school graduation requirements, whether or not the teacher is highly qualified in a course necessary for middle school advancement, contribution and or involvement in extracurricular and co-curricular positions with students, compliance with professional standards and conduct over the course of the employment of the district. So all of those, what was that? And?
There's a J.
Oh, thank you. And teacher evaluation, thank you. Put it in the next page. Teacher evaluations, including components required for the Idaho code to be encompassed in teacher evaluation. So all of those, would you mind bringing up the rubric, that third policy down? All of those then become a part of this rubric that is essentially a way to try and quantify what any given teacher, set of teachers brings to the district, so that when we make this decision, we make it based on how it's going to affect the district. I want to just make it clear that even though we're going through this in a just kind of a matter-of-fact way, this is not something we want to do.
No.
We never want to get to the point that we have to use this. However, with what's coming from the state and if it were just our levy not passing, I don't believe we'd have a problem taking care of that through attrition. But if not knowing what kind of cuts might come, we just felt like it would be important to bring this to your attention so that you're aware that this is the process and this is how we would go through the process. So we've already scheduled time with the MEA to walk through the process so that they are aware and they can provide any input. If they have significant concerns, I'll bring that to you as a board in subsequent meetings. Any questions on how we're walking through this?
There's a large concern for a drastic drop in property values would trigger these.
Yes, that would also
Yeah, so that hopefully.
To
that
a
doesn't
degree,
happen.
yeah.
Just as much, in as much as it addresses costs that would then be passed on to the state, that the state would pull from education in order to fill. So,
What's your recommendation?
there's really no need
Just
to,
a
this is
discussion.
just a policy discussion. There's no changes that I'm recommending making. It's just, I wanted to make sure and bring it in front of you. And do it in a public way, because this isn't something we want to say we're trying to hide. We're not saying that it's going to happen, but we
Just
feel
be
like it
aware.
would
Well,
be,
it's good to be aware of
we
it.
don't want to be in April or May and having to say, let's dig our policy out and figure out what we do. Better to understand that now so that we can make it as painless as possible, if it were to happen.
Very good.
Any questions there?
Sounds good.
All right, let's go to the next two.
Okay, policy, I'm gonna let, Mr. Hollinger come up to the podium for this one as well. Before we dive into the policy, I'll let Mr. Hollinger kind of talk about what he's trying to accomplish. He approached us, with a recommendation of how we'd like to proceed. There's still some details to work out, but as he said that, it was very clear that it would require some adjustments to district policy as far as high school graduation requirements go. So, this would be a first reading of this. Everything that you've seen put in there is what we have generated that is highlighted. Everything that's highlighted, we have added to that policy. And as a first reading, this isn't, because we're kind of creating this one, this isn't something that, is coming from legislation or anything. There's a lot of work that'll go into making sure that we dotted the i's and crossed the t's. After we've gone through all of these things that we've talked about, we'll actually put this out to our attorneys, make sure that they look through it, make sure that we're not violating any state law as we take this. Because it is, I reached out to the SIC superintendents, and there was nobody in the SIC that's taking this approach. And I think it's a unique approach that I think has a potential to help our students. So I'll give the floor over to Johnny and we'll get into some details here.
Okay, so the genesis of this, as I looked at our ISAT scores, and I don't like to make a ton of decisions based on our ISAT scores, but it kind of, it didn't sit right with me that we have a really high graduation rate in Milton High School, which is wonderful, like 96%, which is great. And I think that speaks to the quality of what we have going on, the quality of our families and our students. But something that didn't sit right with me is that we have this really high graduation rate, and our ISAT scores are good in comparison with the rest of the state. But to me, if we're graduating 96% of our students, I would think that ISAT scores would be consistent with that, right? Which means we would be 96% proficient in our math and our English ISAT scores, and we are not, as you know. So if you look at it's closer, it's about 70% proficient in English, which is good, and about 50-ish% in math, maybe a little less than that. So again, that just doesn't sit right with me. It seems like, okay, maybe are we not doing enough to get our students to proficiency before they graduate high school? And I don't think we are. I also think our students don't give their greatest effort on the ISATs because there's no accountability to it. Whether you pass the ISAT or not, you just move on and we just kind of go about our day. We do have to make some decisions based on the ISAT, including like where if we feel like we can place students in certain classes, or if we're going to provide some sort of intervention for students, or even how we're going to like what we're going to emphasize when we teach. So they are important in some ways. They're not the most important thing, but they are an important thing that we care about. So the proposal, and I don't want this to come across as a punishment. I think that's really important. This is because we care about our students, we're going to do more to try to help them. So the proposal is essentially that if a student, after they take their ISATs, their summative ISATs, which happens the spring of their junior year. If they are not proficient in English or math, we would have them take a remedial course their senior year. So it essentially adds an additional class that they would take. If they are proficient, great. Good, you don't have to worry about taking the course. If you don't take the course, then you don't graduate. Essentially, it becomes a graduation requirement at that point. So either you're proficient or you take this remedial course to get you closer to proficiency. We're not going to retest you and ensure that you have to, it doesn't mean you have to pass the ISAT to graduate. But if you don't show proficiency on the ISAT, then you have to take this course. And it's just one last effort for us to say we've done, maybe not as much as we can, we've done more than we have in the past to get these students towards proficiency in something as important as English language arts, reading, their math skills, right? So if a student is not proficient in English and math, they would take 2 courses. They would be semester-long courses.
And so for the student, we've talked about how we would grade the class. We've talked about that class being a pass-fail, but that it needs to be a graduation requirement for them to take that class and pass it. There's going to be a teacher. It's different than a testing environment. There would be modifications for students with disabilities. That would be, that would be determined by the IEP team. We've used the ISAT as the measuring stick, but we do have some parents that opt their students out of taking the ISAT for, whether it's philosophical, just convenient reasons, whatever it might be. Parents can still opt their students out of the ISAT, but if they opt their students out of the ISAT, we would have an alternate comprehensive assessment that the students would have to take, and if they're proficient at that, they don't have to take the class. ISAT would be the primary focus for our school though. There are some things that we need to look at in terms of the number of students, how those sections would work out in terms of having the class ready. There's, I don't know, Mr. Hollinger, what else have we talked about as far as things that we need to be addressing?
I think on here, on the original draft that we were probably going to adjust, is that we said the students couldn't have a shorter schedule. Their schedule will naturally be longer because they have an additional graduation requirement that they're going to be taking their senior year, but they can still have a shorter schedule if they meet graduation requirements.
Yeah, we don't know how we could keep them from having a short schedule if they've met all the other graduation requirements. But having to take the course means that they don't have they have that to take, and that means they don't have an elective they lose an elective because of that. But the reason to lose the elective is to make sure that we're hitting those primary things that we're saying are the most important, the reading, the writing, the math. Make sure that they're able to do those things in a more proficient way than what they've shown on their ISAT.
If they just got a cruddy day, can they test out of it? Second?
Yeah, there's some language in here about an appeals process, and as part of that, what I would do is, let's say they reach out, and we'll have to flesh out what that appeals process looks like a little bit more. But in my mind, it's they've gone through the process, and as part of that, there's a narrative that explains, hey, I had a terrible day, I had a migraine that day, so I did poorly on this math test. I'd like a chance to redo it, but we could give that alternative assessment. It's not something I want to get in a regular habit of, like, you're not gonna do it like 10 times, but come in, we'll give you a chance to show that you can do this. And if they were to come in and pass it, I'm comfortable with that, with saying, yeah, you're okay to not take the class you're student.
And a parent can't opt out of all. There's got to be a.
Yeah, there has to be a test that
for all students.
I mean, and that's the case with everything. I mean, you can't opt out of every test that you.
Your math final, you still take your math final.
Yeah.
Most people that opted out of the ISAT opted out because of I want to say political, what they felt were political or moral decisions that were involved in the creation of the ISAT test. I don't know that I necessarily agree with those, but that is what a lot of them have stated, that they're concerned about the content of questions. Those have been reviewed by the state of Idaho multiple times with parent committees from parents across the spectrum. We've removed every question that we could think of that would have any kind of moral implication. But there are still some that do, and it is the parent's choice to not take that. But if they don't do that, they have to take, or they can just take the course. If they would prefer not to take any of those assessments, they can just take the course.
But in the end, they have to take an assessment to show they're proficient.
In the
In the
course, in the course.
They just have to pass the course.
Yeah, just a pass or fail.
Because the state of Idaho allows parents to opt out of those kinds of comprehensive tests.
And I think it's important, we also understand there may be a student that never is able to get proficiency on it.
Yeah.
But I don't think we're doing everything we can if we don't try to at least have some sort of course or some sort of remediation in place for those students. Again, that's why this is not a punishment, it's just
No,
providing
we're
more
just making better
opportunities.
citizens.
That's the hope.
Yeah.
And there was some mentioning about accommodating special needs students. I imagine it would also be accommodation for English as a second language students.
Yes.
Okay. That's often a real problem on standardized testing.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions for,
Thank you for
Any other
sharing.
suggestions?
We have time to.
yeah, this is the first reading.
Okay.
So, if you have other questions, concerns, we'll be working out, more details on this particular policy, just to tighten it up. After the second reading, we'll send it to our attorneys based on what we come up with from there, just to get their, take on it. Make sure that we're not violating any other, because again, we're creating this, we've never done that, and there's not a lot of precedent within the state. But I do think this is a great opportunity to put some accountability in place.
The idea would be that, I mean, the graduation rates may fall, but at least you'll have a proficiency standard.
Yeah, and I honestly, I don't think they will fall, because it's not like they have to get to that proficiency level. Like, I could see how, and they may fall if we say, yeah, you have to pass this test or you don't graduate. They will show they're not proficient, so, okay, you're going to take this course. And we may not get you to proficiency, but we've made every effort to get you to that point.
Gotcha.
I don't know if this is the elephant on the table for anybody else, but it is for me, that why are we not looking at something? This is not a bad idea. I don't think that. But in my mind, kindergarten, first, second, and third graders is where we should be working on getting the level of proficiency in reading and math, so it follows them through. And maybe I'm thinking wrong, but I just feel like
I don't
third
think you're
graders.
thinking wrong. I think what we're looking at is the urgency of it, though.
Yeah,
With those students in those early grades, we still have time
Yeah.
to continue to work with them. And the way that, as Mrs. Goodson showed, when we find that there's deficiencies,
mhm.
we're looking for ways to shore that up for every individual student. But we're still getting to the point. One of the things I think what we're seeing, you actually see a drop in proficiency as the students get older.
Yes,
And some of that is because there's not an accountability. There's not an expectation that I have, if I'm a student that I walk in to take a test, and I know that nothing's gonna happen if I do well and nothing's gonna happen if I do poorly. What's my motivation to try my hardest to show what I know? And so hopefully helping add that motivation and accountability. And then if they've shown what they know and it's shown to be lacking, then we have an obligation as a school to take another step to try and say, here's what we can do.
Absolutely.
I think I connect with what Cindy's saying is like, this shouldn't look like we've let it go this long and now we're drawing a line in the sand on your junior year. And if you don't pass it, we're gonna try our best to get you out the door with the skills we've got. I'm with Cindy. I want to identify that well ahead of time and do this kind of a one-on-one approach where we're able to identify people that are struggling and get them, like, keep up with them instead of race at the end. And I think that we're doing that. I want to make sure that our messaging isn't that this is our last ditch effort.
Right.
And part of this as well, so this isn't just to have the students be accountable, the adults are more accountable now too, because the teachers have to prepare their students to be proficient in this. And sometimes as a teacher, and you probably understood this, Cindy, you have your like special lesson that you want to do. And maybe it relates to the standards that you're supposed to be teaching, but maybe it kind of doesn't, right? And sometimes you just need that refocus. These are the most important things that our students learn when they leave here. And my hope is that this focuses them towards that. And not just for our junior teachers, our sophomore and our freshmen, and even our 8th grade teachers. And discussions have already happened, like, well, if we're gonna be doing this, that's what high school and middle school teachers say as well. Like, well, we need to get them prepared earlier on. And we've always been supposed to do that, but now it just focuses us a little bit more. So the thoughts of, ideas that come out, well, if they're not proficient coming out of 8th grade, what are the interventions that we have starting in high school? If they're not proficient in math, let's get into these intervention classes right at the beginning of high school to get them, to proficiency by the time they're a junior or a senior. So I think it's almost like a trickle-down effect, or it'll affect change that way and focus our staff a little bit more too.
And I think it's important too that there's not a lot of this isn't something that's pulling resources from the younger grades to make this happen.
Oh, yeah.
Because, so all of those things that are happening at the younger grades can continue to happen, and if we can find another step that can help them do better, we can take that step. But the only real resources we'll need is the FTE for the class, which we already have.
Study skills.
There's a study skills class that we would actually just flip flop into those courses that were study skills would be used for these ISAC classes.
Okay. Study skills with benefits.
Any other
you.
questions on this, on particular policy?
The recommendation is second
Just
reading.
second reading.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Thank you, yes.
All right, who's covering policy 7073?
And then for this last one, the policy 70 is the retention of district records. This actually came out of discussions at ISBA, as Mrs. Pennington and I were looking at that. Primarily, we were looking at the time frame for how long we keep to keep records. And you can see in that policy, there's a number of different types of policies that it goes on for pages.
Yeah.
That we felt like it was important to put that in front of us as a board to recognize this is what the record, how we are supposed to keep records based on this policy. And if we want to make adjustments, we ought to be, it's worth the review.
Yes.
So I don't know if any of you had an opportunity to take a look at those before. This would be the first reading. We'd be looking at it. I wanted to just put it in front of you just so that we can get that rolling.
It's a lot more records than you realize.
There are a whole lot of records. And a lot of this is kept digitally, which renders some of this not as important. But some of it comes back to our responsibility should a public records request be made. If a public records request is made and we're not adhering to this, that's a problem. But if we have documents that we maintain for longer than we need to maintain them, it makes it harder on staff to manage everything as it comes in and as those public records requests come in. So we want to be able to meet those and if we can't meet them, we want to be able to tell them right away that that's not within our policy.
I'm looking for transcripts. How long does that have?
We keep those as,
Long,
Those are probably the longest, right?
yeah, we still have those.
50 years.
Yes, Jay, you can get your transcript.
Yeah. Almost 40 years.
Down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You don't want the evidence.
Yeah.
so
It's-
if there's no, my recommendation is that we move this to the second reading. Lisa and I will bring our recommendations for any adjustments to the record, not the timing of keeping those records, whether lengthening that time or shortening that time. And then if you have any as well, you could bring those to us in the second reading, that'd be great.
Okay,
That's good.
all right, with that being said, any other questions?
Nope.
I would entertain a motion to move those policies to a second reading.
I move that we, move policies, 2700 PR1 and policies 7033 to a second, 73, excuse me, to a second reading.
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, let's move on to action items.
We also need to move the other policies to.
No, these are
No,
not.
that was discussion.
Okay.
A, entertain a motion to approve or deny the new course for health medical assistant pathway.
Move that we approve the new course, health medical assistant pathway.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve a change for the middle school to semester. Yeah, she did.
Okay.
She said it with you too.
So, okay, never mind.
Do you have questions?
No,
So I'll move that we approve the middle school change to semesters for the 2026-27 school year.
second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve the formation of a new account in LGIP for the tennis dome donations.
I, move that we form a new account in the LGIP for the tennis dome donations.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve or deny the pre-construction contract for LKV.
I move that we approve the pre-construction contract for LKV.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, Jake. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. I would entertain a motion for the appraisal of the district listed not to exceed $9,000 for appraisal services.
Make a motion that we approve the appraisal of the district, properties, listed not to exceed $9,000 for those appraisal services.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. I would entertain a motion to approve the junior ROTC program for the 2026-2027 school year.
I move that we, approve the junior ROTC for 2026-2027 school year.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right.
I move that we go into executive session as per section 74-2061B Idaho Code to consider the evaluation, dismissal, or disciplining, or to hear complaints or charges brought against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual agent.
Second.
Thank you. Get us in by roll call?
Trustee Dempsey,
Yes.
trustee Wagner,
Yes.
trustee Powell,
Yes.
trustee Clark.
Yes.
All right. Students, come get your agenda signed. Everyone else, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll do your best.
Oh, fantastic. Thanks for.
Thank you.